Thank you, Mary Ann. Quiet Zeal is the title of the talk. And I like to be open to whatever flows through me. Sometimes it happens in the morning before I give a talk. People smile at Unity Athens, and greetings from Unity Athens. We're having service starting right now. We start at 11 o'clock down there. And people laugh sometimes because I will put at the beginning of the month the different title talks in the bulletin. And they'll come up to me after the message and say, "You didn't talk about that." And I say, "Well, yeah, because spirit flows. We need spirit to flow through us, do we not?" I have a number of different things I want to share with you this morning. I know it's always... we have this wonderful teaching, and it teaches us there is no such thing as death or passing, but we transition, and when someone we love passes, it's a challenge, and it brings tears, and it brings joy, and it brings memories, and at first, gosh, it's hard. But we move through it, and we also, because of these teachings, we can believe in a bigger sense of life, right? It's not just in these bodies that we're so blessed to have. It's beyond. It's the things that we do in life that leave legacies, whether it's writing a poem or raising a dog or planting flowers or being out in nature or the loving kindness that we share with each other always exists beyond the physical expression that we call life. And I'm also very grateful to Reverend Steve Boland, your amazing, amazing minister, for inviting me. I saw him at Canuga, and I was mentioning I wanted to get out a little bit more. And he said, "Well, do you have October 20th open?" I said, "Whoa, that was fast." Ask and you receive. And I had to run and get my calendar. I said, yes. The daily word, isn't it always just spot on? Do you get that feeling on it? I hope you read it if it's online. I hope you pick up copies of it if they have it here, or order it, or get a subscription. Sometimes I print it out and just put it on my wall at home. Actually, this is in 3 different spots in my house, and it's from July 30th, 2017, so it's been hanging with me for a while. And perhaps this resonates with you as it does with me. The word is my story. Sometimes they count 2 or 3 words as the daily word. I am divinely inspired to create and live a full, abundant life. I am the author of my story. No matter what happens, I choose the meaning I give to events in my life. I see myself through divine perception as a spiritual victor. Spiritual victor. Ooh. Someone asks you how you're doing today. Say, "I'm a spiritual victor." I'm an overcomer and not a victim of life's circumstances. Inspired by spirit, I discover deeper understanding and new gifts in myself as I move through challenges. I discover new gifts in myself as I move through challenges. These can be the small, everyday challenges. They can be the big things. They can be the challenges, I think, that we see in the world sometimes. We want to do something or fix something or try to believe that things aren't broken and they're fixing themselves. This is what I love. No part of my story limits the adventure of this day. There are no mistakes or wounds of the past that keep me from living fully now. And I pause there because sometimes there are things in the past that come up. There's whole sections of my life I'd like to go back and do over, but that's okay. Everything I've gone through in my life has brought me to where I am. And I'm seeing heads nodding. You feel that? We can talk about our wounds, or we can talk about our triumphs. We can talk about people in the past that may seem to have hurt us, or we can talk how strong we were to get through that. We can talk about feelings of loss or change. We can accept that. And we can find the joy and the beauty and the grace in it. It goes on, I forgive myself and others the errors that occur when we fall short of being our best selves. If I ask the question, who here has ever fallen short of their best self? My arm would go up fast. Yeah. Isn't that a gentle way of saying it when we fall short of being our best selves? Oh my gosh. I won't give you the list because we don't have until 6 o'clock tonight. And my memory's short, okay? We are all doing the best we can in this moment. Oh, this is why this is on my wall. Every sentence in here speaks to me. We're all doing the best we can in this moment. Now, I can say that about my dear ones and my friends that I love when we bump up against each other a little bit or our thoughts don't seem to jive. That's an expression from the 60s. But I can also say it to all other people I see, people on the news or in the world. We're all doing the best we can in this moment. And it goes on, I'm free to love, to laugh, and to fully live the abundant life I am divinely inspired to create. I can love, I can laugh, and fully live the abundant life I'm divinely inspired to create. At Unity Athens, we take one of the spiritual faculties per month. Some churches do this. I also learned it when I was at the Barbara King School of Ministry and Hillside International Truth Center. That's a long name for a spiritual center. To focus on one spiritual faculty as written by Charles Fillmore in the 12 Powers of Man and Women. So October is zeal. And I love zeal. I always thought of it as an energizing thing, a powerful way to move forward, enthusiasm. Feels like enthusiasm, zeal. Always want more zeal. But now I am looking at it in a different way. Partly because of being with the head of Silent Unity and head of prayer at Unity Village, Reverend Linda Martellowitz-Sett, who was at Canuga this year, our retreat. And she's looked at every one of those powers in a bit of a different way in her book, Divine Audacity. And for zeal, she mentions enthusiasm, and she mentions it's confidence, but a way of going deeper in a quieter way with zeal. And it gave me pause because I like that. I like the idea of going forward, but in peace and in joy and in connection with Spirit in everything we do. So as we think about zeal, I think the perfect combination with it is meditation. Because we don't often think of meditation as an enthusiasm, jumping up and down type of thing. It's quieter, is it not? Although we can meditate when we're out hiking or when we're sitting at the beach or petting our Mr. Pancake. He's a little white Shih Tzu about this big. So think about it this way, if you wish, of meditation being a gateway to the energy of all that you wish to do or be or have or to complete or to move forward with. Because I believe in that depth, like when we had that quiet, could you feel the energy in the room? I believe that's the place where we get nudges from Spirit, where we get answers, from the divine, where we can ask those questions like, what would my soul like me to know today? And you don't have to be in meditation to ask that question. What would my soul like for me to do today? To think about today, to focus on today. Or we can directly ask Spirit, perhaps before going into meditation, what would you have me know? Where shall I go today? Who can I get in touch with that perhaps I haven't? I have a friend named Mary Ferber. We were good friends in high school. I hadn't talked to her in like decades, and I missed my 50th class reunion. Yes, I graduated from high school when I was 1. I wasn't able to go because I'd been out in Yellowstone and fell and my elbow got broken, and that's another whole story, but it was a lot of fun too. So I didn't go to the 50th, but there was Mary, and Mary met a friend of mine, and we connected via Facebook after that, and she said, call me sometime. And I was driving up here today, and I said, I haven't called Mary yet. It's been a year now. We're still talking. We've sent letters even back and forth. Do you do that? But that's a phone call that I'm being nudged so powerfully to make. And I'm going to intend, because if I say it here, then I know I will do it. I'm going to call Mary, either tonight or tomorrow. Why? Because if I don't call Mary, and we don't get an opportunity to talk again, it's going to weigh on my mind. And when I get a nudge from Spirit, whether it's call Mary or go here or pray for this person or change the way I look at things, I want to follow those nudges. And perhaps you do too. Charles Fillmore he's well known for a lot of things, but probably his most famous quote was in his 90s, and it was about zeal. It was either 94 or 96. I can't seem to get the exact date on that. And he said this, I fairly sizzle. Have you lately said you sizzle about anything? I mean, no, that's a thing. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith. It's another spiritual faculty. Faith connected with zeal. Spring forth. Makes it jumping up and doing something. Springing forth energy. The mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Oh, again. Meditatively finding out what ought to be done by me. Or maybe we have a list of things. Like the White Queen said to Alice in Through the Looking Glass, 6 impossible things before breakfast is what I think about, believe in for a half hour every day. 6 impossible things before breakfast. Perhaps you have a spot where you meditate. Can be anywhere, of course. I always like a candle. I have a spot in my dining room where I just like to sit at the table and light a candle. Why? Because that centers me. Looking at that flame seems to make everything else go away. I find peace there. I find silence there, no matter what other noises may be going around. Squirrels out in the yard, dog barking at a cat outside. It centers me. There's an author named Peter Boland, not related to Stephen, it's spelled differently, Bolland. He's a regular contributor to Unity magazine. You read him. It's a wonderful magazine, and it's actually, I'm not a salesperson for Unity, but it's on sale right now. You can get a year's subscription for a little less than normal. And he was talking about a visit he took to Notre Dame Cathedral a while back. I imagine it was before the fire. We rebuild things, don't we? He said this, call it the kingdom of heaven, nirvana, awakening, or simply the presence. Whatever it is beyond all our pretty names and concepts. Still, the mind hungers to understand, so we struggle to identify and describe that sacred presence. And he goes, and that's when the trouble starts, I guess, in trying to describe what it is, and certainly when we all describe it differently. He said, this isn't easy for me to say as a philosophy professor, but when considering the mystical realm, for once it's true, feelings are more valid than facts. Facts have to do with the mind, conceptual thought, discursive reasoning, logical structures, careful definitions of words, and shudder, empirical evidence. But in the realm of pure transconceptual experience, mere empirical evidence shimmers and shifts. Shimmers and shifts like a mirage, revealing still deeper and truer forms of knowing. This is what every meditator knows, that in the depths beneath the thought stream, where we were in that deep silence, there rests an immense field of boundless, content-free stillness. Content-free stillness. Along with the wordless knowing that we are the stillness. Once your meditation practice reveals this depth of authenticity, you realize that you can endure anything, that you carry with you the solution to every problem. You shift from human perspective to holy perspective. You see the big picture and you're filled with the peace that passes all. Yeah, I can't ever say that particular one, so I'm going to read it. Peace that surpasses all understanding, a little different from the biblical verse. And he quotes Rupert Spira, who said this, welcome all appearances, with benevolent indifference. Benevolent indifference. We're not talking about indifference to things you care about, I don't think. But appearances of things out in the world, perhaps. Getting back to, I'm the author of my story. I get to choose. We get to choose how to think about things. Rupert Spira goes on, this leads to spontaneous meditation that is our true nature and the experience of causeless peace. When we let go, we are always meditating. I was talking to a friend at Canuga late one night. We're sitting in a little hallway in the lodge. Someone I've known for a while. Person is dealing with deep grief. Someone in the person's family that had passed in a pretty tragic way. And I know that this person is going through the grief, and it's been a long grieving period. I've had friends that have had the same thing. And I said to her, help me know what to do when someone in my life is experiencing new grief. And she said this: hold sacred space. Hold sacred space. And then I remembered, I said, and is it a good idea to, rather than saying, let me know if there's anything I can do to help, to rephrase that and say, what can I do to help? And she nodded, and she said, yeah, but there's more than that. She said, when I was fresh in my grief, really fresh, I couldn't leave the house sometimes, and I would have been nice if someone would have just called and said, hey, I'm going to Walmart or the grocery store today. Is there something I can pick up and drop off for you, even if I just leave it on the front porch if you can't talk? I said, wow, I'll remember that. So, passing that on. And she said, and remember to let me grieve. Because I know people, it's okay, we're all divine and we're passing into another level, and that's beautiful. It's all beautiful, but it's hard when we're going through it. So I hope that wisdom from my dear friend may bring some help to you in your experiences. William H. Murray, we're going to end with him, he was head of a Scottish Himalayan expedition. He was an explorer, and he wrote a book about it called the Scottish Himalayan Expedition. Interestingly enough, powerful metaphysician. Don't know if he identified himself that way, but I can see it in his writing. And he quotes in this short passage I'm going to read to you a couplet that he said was from Goethe. But it actually isn't. It's from William Murray, because the quote could never be attributed to anything that Goethe wrote. It kind of is reflected in one of the writings, but it's his quote. We'll read that first. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness, zeal, faith, power. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And the earlier preface to that, he was talking about they were trying to raise money for this expedition. When I said that nothing had been done, I erred in one important matter. We had definitely committed ourselves and were halfway out of our ruts. We had put down our passage money, booked a sailing to Bombay. That may sound too simple, but it's great in consequence. Put down the money. We made the first steps. Until one is committed, you may have heard this quoted often too. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness, concerning all acts of initiative and creation. There is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas. Well, in New Thought, we would probably say that a little differently. Kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no person could have dreamt would have come his or her way. And then, again, I learned a deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So I would invite us to think about daily meditation practice. You may already be doing that. daily gratitude journal. And then making those commitments to do that which you're receiving guidance about in your meditation. Call Mary. Stop and see this person. Move forward a dream that you have on your heart that you haven't moved forward with. And to know from the depth of your being that you are a bright light in this world. As you move through the life experience, your smiles, the light in your eyes, the words you say to others make a huge difference. We talk about Jesus as the way shower in Unity teachings. You all are way showers also. Just by the way you move through this world, just by the way you choose how to react, how to think, the words to say, the way to go forward. Why? Because God is wonderful. And you have that in you. And you are wonderful. And so it is. Namaste.
I don't know. I got to figure it out. Oh, and now is our